Hi, I'm John. My group at UQ has been known as UQX in the past, but we've just recently been renamed the Course Design and Development Group, CDD, because we now have two projects, the UQX project to do MOOCs and a new UQ to U project to do blended learning on campus for all of the large courses at UQ. And we're hoping to bring some of this work that I'm going to talk to you about today across from the MOOC world into our on-campus blended learning. This presentation is work done by our group. Very little of it is mine. We have a great learning tools group of developers, Aneesha, Ankith and Sai, learning design team, project managers and media production, and they all play a part in putting these tools together with the course teams. Our group's been going since 2013. We've done about just over 50 MOOCs to date. We have 4 MicroMasters programs. We're up to about 2.25 million enrollments across all of those, and that's the URL to see our courses. We see that one of our aims for our MOOCs has always been to make our online courses active online learning. So we don't want just static content, videos and text and quizzes. We want interactions. So we want simulations, activities that students get involved in, and so forth. So for many of those, we need computer support. So you need learning tools integrated into the system. Open edX or the edX platform provides a small range of things like social polls, word clouds, has a discussion forum, but it's not a huge range, and there seems to be a very large gap between the simple tools like social polls and forums and the more complex things like discussion forums. So with the tools I'm going to talk about, they're all filling in this gap between the really simple social tools and the more complex forums. Research has shown that learners who actively engage in forums achieve better results. Currently, only a small percentage of students in MOOCs interact with forums. So maybe we can use these sorts of tools to help leverage more students into realizing that they will get benefits out of forums, or if not, at least through these tools, get them interacting with other students to get the same sorts of benefits they would have got if they were active forum users. We did some data analysis of one of our MOOCs, just looking at which students in the MOOC engage in the forums and which students engage in the polls and the word clouds that we had in that MOOC. And you'll see from this data that they're very disjoint sets. So the really simple social tools seem to attract one group of students, and the very complex social forums attract a different group. So again, we see there's obviously scope for us to build something in between those to try and get more learners engaged socially in the course. One of the simplest of the tools I'm going to show you is this one. It's a enhanced social polling, a ranked poll where students are presented with a number of options and they sort them into an order, and then they get to see the aggregate ranking of all of the submissions so far. We've used it in a number of courses. It was built for the Introduction to Social Psychology course to rank job applicants in a job interview activity. It was used in our carbon management course to rank carbon abatement projects, and it was used in our business leadership course to rank leadership skills. So it's a very flexible tool that just kind of gives a little bit more engagement than a simple poll. The next step up for social kind of polling is to actually have survey questions. And the dev team found this great JavaScript library, survey.js, which has lots of widgets for branching. It makes it really easy to generate complex surveys. They can be multi-page and so forth in JSON. And so they developed an LTI to allow these sorts of polls to be integrated as tools into edX. Here's an example of one which allows students to fill in the poll. The questions are mapped to dimensions, and so after they've completed the survey, they get to see the aggregate, but it's not the aggregate of just the answers on the polls, it's the aggregate of the dimensions that are calculated from the answers. So you see in the graphs here the sorts of things they get. And again, we've used these surveys in a number of courses in our MicroMasters. Some of the examples: identity leadership, surveys on wisdom, workplace engagement. So you can do quite complex things and get students thinking about deeper concepts through this sort of activity. Another important thing is to get students to develop a habit of reflecting on their own learning. We've used this in on-campus courses quite a bit, having students write a reflective journal. So we built an LTI tool that allows you to embed it multiple times in a course and scaffold it with a question on what to reflect on. The student writes a reflection. They get to see a tag cloud of words that they've used in the entry. And then we have another LTI or another version of the LTI that you can embed, and that one aggregates all of the journals together, and the student can save it out to keep. This is the summary LTI here. So it lets a student see all of their journal entries that they've done. So you put this at the end of the course, and they can export that out and keep that as a Word document or a PDF. And we're now using this in pretty much every one of our new MOOCs, so that they all have a reflective journal activity embedded throughout the course. Kind of building on that concept of having students kind of build up text about their reflections or ideas across a period within the course. We use a lot of ORAs, peer-assessed activities, and the standard peer-assessed activity is you ask the student a question and they type in a long format answer, and then that goes off and gets peer-reviewed. But in a lot of our MOOCs, we want students to kind of build up their answer over time. So we've built a template to scaffold a multi-part submission. So the students build up the submission in multiple parts, and then they can export that as a PDF and submit it in their ORA. And that way, when students are reviewing each other's work, that they're all in the same format. It's much easier to relate the rubric and so forth. And again, we've used that in a number of our MicroMasters. Now, so some of our tools build on ideas from the Knowledge Community of Inquiry concept, KCI. This model has a number of principles that students should build up a knowledge base, based upon their answers. They should submit their own ideas and curate other students' ideas to extend their knowledge. And teachers should have a moderation capability. And so one of the first tools we built using this concept was an image sharing and filtering tool. This is a reusable LTI. The instructor sets it up. They set up various demographic information and tags that they want to collect from the students. And what the students do is they upload an image or a screenshot in this particular activity that we designed this for initially. And they can also tag a location on the map as well, which might be their location or a location related to the image that they're uploading. And then the students get to see all of the submissions, and they can filter them on those tags that the instructor had set up. So they can filter them on location, they can filter them on the submitter's age, or whatever tags you wanted to have. The activity that we built this for originally was in our Global Media, War and Technology course. And the activity that we wanted students to do, seeing we had a global cohort, was to go to google.com and search for the word Trump and take a screenshot of the first page of the Google results and upload that. So that way the students could filter and see, what students in the Middle East are seeing as being presented by Google, or what students who are young versus students who are old were seeing. Because as everyone knows, Google now refines its results to what it knows about you. And that includes, where you live and what your politics are and so forth. So you can imagine lots of interesting possible activities you could do with a tool like this to get students to think more deeply about a topic. Another tool is Perspectives X. It's a multi-perspective elaboration tool. The instructor sets it up by defining a template grid, and it might be activities. Some example activities would be a SWOT, a 6 thinking hats activity, or a pros and cons activity, and the students then submit ideas when they come across the tool in the course. The students get to submit their ideas, and then they get to see all of the student submissions of the other learners, and they curate by those submissions by picking ones that augment their own ideas. So they get a curated list of other students' ideas, and when they submit, they can choose to share their ideas, or they can keep their ideas anonymous if they like as well. It's also possible. We use this in our new The Future of Mining MOOC for a 4 futures mining scenarios activity. We had 4 possible future scenarios, and students had to submit ideas as for strategies that would benefit society in those 4 different scenarios. This screenshot shows you the kind of middle section where the student has already made their submission, and they're now seeing other students' submissions, and they click on the blue buttons to add entries into their curated list of other people's ideas. So the idea is the learner extends their own knowledge by taking on ideas from their peers. With this LTI, we got edX to enable the passing to the LTI tool of the learner ID of the learner's name, so that we could make it user friendly, so learners could see the name of the other students if they were posting non-anonymously. And there was further discussion on the forum at the end. And this is what they see once they've gone through the process. So they see their own submissions and they see their set of curated submissions that they've taken from their peers. And the learners can export this out as a Word document as well once they've completed the activity. Another more complex tool that we built for one of the new business MicroMasters courses was a team selection activity as a tool. So this is a multi-step activity. There's 13 steps in this activity, and basically learners are going through the process of building a team from applicants to the positions that they have for the teams. And they're going through the standard sorts of steps you would do in a recruitment process, where you start off with minimal information about the applicants, names and so forth, sexes, but then you get more information. You get to read their CV, you revise your opinions on who are the most likely ones that you'll pick for your team, then you get to interview them and you get more information and you revise again, and so forth. So you go through the whole process, and you get to see what other panel members commenting about the applicants as well. So it was built specifically for this team selection, but we've made it relatively customizable using JSON. It was built for our business leadership, leading the organization course. Reflection steps and comparison steps are all built in. You could apply this to any kind of lengthy process that you want students to understand, the finer details of, like it might be a software selection process or something like that. Another quite complex tool that we've developed, and this has been developed really from the get-go to be really customizable. So it's an extremely flexible tool, so the instructor can get in and design a very complex process, multi-step processes. So it's for multi-perspective reflective exercises, compare. The authoring interface, I think this screenshot is the authoring interface. You can build up multiple steps. Each step you can lock it off until the previous step has been completed, those sorts of things. Some of the different components that you can have in the steps, displaying previous entries, displaying random submissions from other learners, multiple choice submissions with polls and rubrics, displaying results and so forth. This is the instructor view, sorry. So the instructor gets to create each step, pick which modules are on the step, put in all the text around it and so forth, and the conditions for moving backwards or forwards. We used it for a design thinking activity in our leading high-performing teams course, where students formulate a solution to a problem, they reflect on other learners' solutions, they integrate ideas from other students' solutions into their own solution, they provide peer feedback, and they receive feedback from random peers. So quite a complex process. That's the screen, that screenshot. Sorry, these are a little bit small for the size of the screen. So you're probably not going to be able to read too much out of this. You'll have to download the PDF of the presentation later to have a look at the details. This is the peer feedback step, so you can see that they get to select from point and click rubrics to give feedback to their peers. So we've always had a policy at UQ that all of our courses are open access. Most of them are Creative Commons licensed, so people can use content that we've created as open educational resources, and all of our LTI tools are on GitHub and openly licensed. So all of these tools, you can go to the UQ-UQX GitHub site and they're all available for you to use. I think I'm ahead of time. So hopefully we'll get some questions. I'll leave the URL up there.
If you could elaborate a little more on the last one, the design thinking exercise, and what exactly is that involved?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the...
Just repeat the question.
Oh yeah. Elaborate on the design thinking exercise. I'm not sure exactly what the, I suppose I could read the problem. Problem number one, I recently went to IKEA with the family to buy some furniture. I was there for some kitchen utensils, but also ended up buying a number of unpredictable items, as always is the case at IKEA. One of these was a rug that was on sale for $100. After purchasing a new floor rug, I returned to the car only to discover that the new rug would not fit into my tiny Mazda 2. The cost of the in-store delivery was high, $50 in comparison to the cost of the rug, and I felt that I was being cheated if I had to pay the exorbitant fee. I had to either abandon the rug or abandon my family and make an additional trip later that day. Furniture stores often have delivery services, but they may be expensive and can take days before your furniture is delivered, requiring you to be at home and accept the delivery. What solutions could be developed to help customers get their new furniture home? The solution should be safe, inexpensive, quick, and must not require an extra trip to the store. Your task. A design team would define the problem and conduct research to understand the scope and the critical issues. In this case, we would have done some of this for you. The problem would be defined and examined in terms of possible lenses from which solutions and ideas can be viewed, and it goes on, and there's key factors and so forth. So, quite a detailed scenario that students then have to, come up with a proposed design solution for the problem. Yeah?
I have a two-part question. So first part, do any of the solutions that you mentioned require any input from the teacher?
Yes, they all have instructor interfaces for configuring them, putting in all of the text and so forth. And these later couple of tools have a lot of options.
Are these features available to free users or users who are auditing, or are they only available to paying users if they do require the instructor to actively participate?
Right. To date, none of our courses have got activities like this that are restricted to verified students. So they're all yeah. So pretty much all of these activities don't involve staff involvement for the actual execution of the activity. Occasionally, if it's a long-running, self-paced course, and there's, there's a peer review step, we'll make sure that the moderators for the course just check to make sure students are getting some peer feedback in a timely fashion, and if not, go in and give them some feedback just to keep things moving along. But that's really the limit of it. Yeah.
So it's quite a massive collection of tools that you're building, and so I guess it's reaching the point where I could see instructors
Yeah, so at the moment, it's really down to the learning designers on our team who are working with the course teams to give them an idea of what solutions we have. In our 50 odd MOOCs that we've created, we've been fairly well resourced. So we've taken the view that we can build bespoke tools for any of our new MOOCs. We've got the resources to do that, as long as we don't get too far out of hand. But now that we're moving to this new mode of building a lot of blended courses on campus, the scale is going to be such that we really need to look at making sure the tools that we do offer are very flexible and can be applied to different styles of courses, humanities courses, business courses, economics courses, and so forth. So things like the reflection tool, you can, we use reflection in our engineering classes. Yeah.
So with these LTI tools, what do you do for analytics capture and sort of merging that together to tracking user behavior between the course?
Yeah, so pretty much all of these tools, have their own database because we have a tool server that runs all the tools that we provision into these courses. So we can extract data and we occasionally do. We don't have a huge amount of resource for going back and looking at data and researching, but that's starting to build, and over time I think we'll make more use of the data that's there. It's one of the sorts of things, if we find some of these tools are really exceptionally widely used, there's the potential to redevelop them as next block and submit them into the edX code base, in which case the data will be in the edX platform and so forth. Question up the back.
So, do I understand correctly, these are all currently LTIs?
Yes.
So they could be used beyond, so you could use them for, say, Canvas?
Yeah, and we'll likely use some of them in Blackboard, which is our on-campus LMS.
And have you used the compare tool at all for, say, engineering courses? Are you using them, is it for a team or is the whole course, does everybody in the course do the same problem and provide it?
At the moment, unless you set up cohorted content in your edX course, you could potentially have different activities, the same tool but with a different activity for different cohorts. That would be possible. Deepak?
In fact, my question was related in the sense that if you have a very large number of learners, then how do I choose which learner solution to reflect on? So perhaps cohort is one possible solution. But if the number is, let's say, 10,000 students.
Yeah, you should have come to my lightning talk. One of the things we're exploring at the moment is designing LTIs that use Amazon's Lambda technology, which would make them infinitely scalable, and we wouldn't have to maintain a server for them once we deploy them.
One more question. We have found consistently that in the peer review process, there are several jokers who don't do the peer review properly. And that causes huge problems and embarrassment to the course staff. I don't know how would you handle, I don't know whether you face such a situation.
Yeah, I don't think we've come across that. Other than the timing thing for courses that, most of our courses now run in a self-paced mode. We typically run each course paced after we first develop it, but there's only a couple of courses we continue to run as paced long term. So in a self-paced course, unless you have really massive numbers, then the active users can get a bit sparse at times, and if you have a lot of peer assessment or peer review activities, you need to keep an eye on it to make sure that students aren't waiting too long. But we haven't had too many issues with students providing bad feedback or
You're lucky.
yeah. We find most of these tools actually really get students excited and interested, and we're going to go. I'm going to get the team to go back and look at the data and see if that Venn diagram changes a bit when we put in the learners that are using one of these more complex social tools. Yes. Well, it depends on the style of the course. We have courses that have enrollments in the hundreds of thousands, and we have other courses that have enrollments in 1,000 or 2,000.
This is self-paced. Is it possible that at some time there are less than 10 or 15?
Yeah, potentially. So, and it can vary between times of the year as well.
That's true.
Yeah. Yes.
I had a few, so I think I'm just going to try it.
Yeah. Go for it.
So for the embedded reflection LTI, there are other groups that have also done work. It's useful to share what they've done. So our standard team, we've built a text response tool that's kind of similar, but different. I think yours does other things that ours does, and ours does things that yours doesn't.
Yeah, I think ours gives you a word count, and there's an option for feedback at the end, as well as the tag cloud. Yep.
Yeah, so it's the more engagement, the better.
Yeah.
But ours is an Xbox. If you want to see it, I think there's an edX Xbox directory.
All right. Yep.
Text response. You can, like, if you wanted to make it a little bit more rigorous, you could specify like a word or a phrase that, like, in order for somebody to get credit, they have to have that word or phrase. You can specify a maximum number of words. You can make it just like it's just reflection.
Yeah.
You're graded as long as you submit something. But it's nice to see that someone else is doing more work on that as well.
Yeah.
And then to address a question that another instructor of ours had, we wanted to do what I think you've ended up doing, which is that you could, I don't know if it's this tool or a different one, that you can surface back the students' answers later. And so I think it's OpenCraft or EduNest, I forget which group, but I'm not sure they're still working on it. And if you're in here, maybe you guys could see. Is OpenCraft is called the problem builder? Yes, that one. So that one also has a long answer option.
Mm-hmm.
That's used to show it back to the learner later, and you could show it in like a whole group of answers at the end. So
Yeah.
it's just, I think I'll leave it at that. But that's really cool.
Yeah. Once you get instructors' minds open to the style of things that can be developed relatively easily, that where is it? Back this way. The Survey.js one. You can make quite complex surveys with mapping of different characteristics and so forth, and really kind of get students thinking deeply about ideas in this. And so I see a lot of these tools are going to be used repeatedly in the courses we're going to be building for our on-campus students, because we certainly don't want in our blended courses for the online content to just be recorded lectures. We want it well-designed learning sequences with lots of activities. One last question.
How is this for reuse? In particular, if I run the course once and then I do a rerun, how does this LTI stuff seem to be stored on the server?
Yeah.
How is it copying between one version of the course and the next version?
I think there's various options. Some of them you just have to embed the tool in the new course. You don't have to really do any more setup on the server. So the administration overhead's relatively low for the tech team. But if you're reusing the tool in a new context, the instructor has to go in and configure the tool in a new context. But I think it's relatively easy to reuse the same tool with the same configuration in multiple runs of the same course without having to reconfigure everything. Because we have so many of these LTIs now, these are just the ones that involve social sort of aspects. We have lots of other LTIs that we've built over the last few years. So the team's getting pretty good at making the administrative overhead of them as minimal as possible. Thank you very much.
Yeah, one more time.
For what it's worth, I think that if you want to get analytics data out, like that, you wouldn't have to make it an XBlock, like because you can post messages from between the iframe content and the calling out frame. So if you actually made the LTI consumer XBlock and extended it to understand messages and receive messages, and then had it do the logging into the tracking log. You would have to namespace things. We'd have to figure out what the events, would look like and all that. But that seems like a sort of way you could do it, like fairly cheaply.
Yeah, well, IMS are working on a standard, what's it called, Caliper, which is effectively an LTI. It's a analytics API for tools. So it could be something that we could put into the LTI-X block that makes it standardized so that the same analytics interface would be available in Canvas if they supported Caliper and so forth.
I wasn't aware of Caliper. I'll look into that. Thank you.
Amazing.
Oh, thank you, Deepak.
Why don't you come to India and tell us about it? There is a conference in January which we call Future of Learning.
Future of Learning.
Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore and IIT Bombay, we jointly hold it. We held it for the first time this year.
Right.
And we'll be doing it again next year. So I'll send you a mail.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested. But absolutely amazing. I'm going to ask my team to pile up onto all these things.
Yeah, from one course to the next.
And I propose we do some of the information in our blended MOOCs where we have 50 to 100 students from each institution participating, 500 institutions participating. Get natural and each other physically as well. And teaching education and high school.
How you doing?
I'll give you the rundown. What's happening.
Sure.
So I have these signs.
10 is good.
10.
Because 10 is my objective of I should stop at 10 and let people contribute. It probably won't happen, but still.
Okay, so
Where are you going to be standing?
I'm going to be sitting there.
Okay, nice.
And so you're expecting some questions at the end, or
Right.
would like some questions.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is that I'll hold up the 10-minute mark when we're 10 minutes away from the questions,
Oh, that's good.
if that's how you want to do it.
Yeah, that would be perfect. So that would tell me you have 10 minutes left before going into the question
So
phase.
10, 5, 1, and then stop means let's start the questions.
Okay, I'll try to look at you.
Okay, cool. And you have the clock too. One last time.
Yeah.
D'Amours.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And one thing you don't know about, because it's not written there, I'm co-presenting with Braden.
Braden. Oh.
Braden, our CTO.
Right. What's his last name?
McDonald.
Braden McDonald. Okay. I will mention that. Great. Okay.
No big deal if you don't, but
And do you
that would make...
Do you want me to say Gabe or Gabriel?
Gabriel is fine.
Gabriel D'Amours, Braden, what is it?
Braden McDonald.
So I will be timing you guys during the talk. And I guess we decided at 10 minutes before questions, I'll be and so all I'll do is I'll give the title, announce your names, and you can do your talk, and then I'll get up, say, do we have any questions, or you can do the same. And
All right.
I'll hand the mic around, and
If someone asks a question without the mic, if you could just repeat it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll try to do that. Thank you, Matt.
And then I go and fill the type and I set the color to red. And now it knows that that's that
I'll just sit over there.
ID
Sure.
has that title and it's red. And now when I copy this to a new course, I have to go and reinitialize it. Because it has a new course ID, a new URL, a new URL name, whatever, all that stuff.
Je suis correct. Merci.
Some way of keeping the state different between
non.
things, but also keeping the configuration.
OK. Je suis content. Est-ce que ici au podium, c'est correct? OK, cool, merci. Eh oui. Salut Caroline. Ça va bien toi?
You work in the this new tech square? Okay. I know that. Okay, so half of this probably comes in.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I don't think we actually have a handheld mic, so if you could repeat the
For questions, sure thing.
Awesome.
And if I don't, just remind me that I should repeat it. Good? That's good. That's not what I should do.
Getting set up. Okay.
Good. I just
Like
need
it'll be on
to.
this.
There's this two-step validation process for my Google account, which I must take care of. It's unnerving. Excellent. No, but you can use my computer. That's what I'll do. I'll so you have the notes there. Is that good? Okay. I do. Okay, nice. Just give me a minute. Quick access. I don't want the fucking quick access. So, walking dog. Yeah, I actually used to work here, and I showed people how they. Yeah. Thank God. Does this need to be working? Is it working? Is that for the camera or? Okay. Yeah, I'm good.
Good afternoon, everyone. One of our final talks of the conference, we have Instructional Designer's Point of View, a love letter to open edX and how to make it better. Please welcome Gabriel D'Amours and Claire Umbrian.
So, last talk of this conference, that is not intimidating at all. So, I'm Gabriel. I work at OpenCraft. I used to work here at HEC as an instructional designer, hence the title of this presentation. So, let's go let's see about the outline of this talk. First, we'll have a quick word about instructional design in general, just so you know what it is. Afterwards, I'll be happy to read a love letter, an actual love letter that I wrote for Open edX. And we'll also briefly discuss what we like about Open edX. After this, we will go through a couple solutions that we thought about going to how to make it better. So I surveyed the community for that, and I also had opinions from all kinds of people. Braden will present you a few features that we've been working on, and also some stuff that other providers are working on. And at the end, I wish that we have this nice discussion about what kind of stuff we could make better in Open edX. So that's pretty much the hang of it. So first, instructional design. What is that? Maybe some of you instructional designers? Ah, that's nice. My crowd. Great. So we have different names. Instructional designers, learning experience designers, learning advisors, academic advisors, so on. What do we do? Well, there isn't, these are definitions, obviously, but we do a lot of stuff. We're called to play many roles. It's complicated. We do analysis. We manage projects. We're consultants. We work as researchers, instructors. And basically, we spend a lot of time in studio. And we're there to help professors, faculty deliver a good learning experience, and both for instructors and learners. So first, hello, Catherine. I want to read out to you this love letter that I wrote for Open edX. So here goes. It's very personal. Dear Open edX, you are such a gift in my professional life, and you deserve to know it. So I decided to write you this letter. As amazing as I thought my work was before we met each other, I couldn't have dreamed of how much better it would become. As an educator, you've helped me turn some of my dreams into a reality. The first time I saw you, I fell in love, right then and there. Our first contact was so blissful that I thought I might fall over, literally. You always had a powerful effect on me. You are a blessing, really. Let me speak on behalf of my fellow IDs here and tell you what we love about you. We love the fact that you're open source, that there's a thriving community of developers and educators that care about you. We love your power, and we love your stability. We love your simple and sleek user interface, which makes building and taking courses a pleasant experience. We love the fact that you allow active learning, peer learning, discussions. We love your assessment tools, which are both robust and flexible. We love your outstanding and thorough documentation. We love the team behind Open edX. Cheers to these guys. They're amazing individuals who are making an actual difference in the education world. And we love you for organizing this conference that allows the community to meet face-to-face and discuss how we can make you better. I also know it wasn't always perfect. There is always room for improvement. On turning over in my mind some of the features or non-features from the last releases, I have sometimes put myself into great agony, not knowing how to interpret these things. So I went around, I had affairs with other platforms. But it wasn't the same. In the end, I feel that it is only with you that I can do anything at all. Let's face it, we get old, we get used to each other. We think alike, we can read each other's minds. Sometimes we irritate each other a little bit. Maybe sometimes we take each other for granted. But once in a while, like today, I meditate on it and I realize how lucky I am to share my professional life with you. You still fascinate and inspire me. You influence me for the better, and I have faith that you'll achieve anything that you put your mind to. You have the power, the skills, and the community behind it, so you can do it. I love you, Open edX, and with all my heart, and I want you to know that the fact of knowing that you love me back means all my life. So, enough of this. Let's briefly discuss what's designing a good learning experience. Sounds pretty simple, right? There's a broad range of principles of what learning is, roots in cognitive and behavioral psychology. We won't go there. All we want to do is one thing. We want students to learn, be able to transfer knowledge, skills, and attitudes to real-life situations, right? So there are a couple principles for how you should design a good learning experience, and here are a couple at which Open edX is good. So great storytelling, good UX. Everything is not perfect, I know, but still, Open edX is a great platform to tell a story. That's what I believe. Creating a story using text, videos, exercises is a breeze with Studio. The interface is clean, it's powerful, it works, it's easy to use. Next, it allows you to do lots of practice, lots of feedback. So learning, retaining, and applying knowledge needs practice, right? It's like learning how to golf or whatever. This means also you can do lots of formative assessments. You need to do as much as possible, in fact. So students should have the freedom to try and fail as many times as they want. It's also a great opportunity to provide good feedback. It's crucial for learning. Next, one good thing you can do with the Open edX is active learning. I know it's a buzzword, but it still has roots in science, and science has proven that this works. So those are definitions, but of course, briefly said, active learning involves students in the learning process more directly than in some other methods. And research has demonstrated that engaging students in the learning process increases their attention and focus, of course, and it motivates them to practice higher level critical thinking. So it's a more, I'd say, it's a more meaningful learning experience. But still, it's good, but how can we make it better? And that's the question I'm asking you today. What does better mean anyway? What areas could be improved? Could depend on who you are, what work you do, who are your stakeholders. So I know we have instructional designers here. Do we have faculty here, professors? That guy's a professor too. So are there people from the business area? Private business, for-profit business? Okay, so your goals could be different. I mean, we all want students to learn stuff, but our high-level objectives can be different, right? So what's better? Some want better course design tools, some want better analytics, reporting, UX, some just want an overall good learning experience. So the objectives can be different. So before we all discuss what's good and what's not and what could be improved, I'm going to ask Braden to come over. He's our CTO at OpenCraft, so he will briefly show you some of the stuff we're working on and some of the stuff other guys are working on.
Thanks, Gabriel.
So presentation is there and the notes are there.
So one of the things that we've been working on is about blended learning and classroom experiences. We have a lot of clients who use Open edX for blended learning, where you have a classroom component and an online component. And specifically, one of the features of Open edX that's often used to implement blended learning is CCX. It's not a well-advertised feature, so sometimes it's not as well known as other features of the platform. CCX stands for Custom Courses for edX and was originally developed by MIT. It's quite a flexible system, so it can be used for a number of different use cases. The ones we tend to work on most is blended learning. But basically what it lets you do is magnify the power of your instructional designers by creating a template course and then creating many copies of that course that can be customized by individual instructors and then delivered to different classes. So you can see here, for example, there's one master course that is created, and then there's three different teachers, or in this case, two different teachers teaching three different courses that customize it. The customizations you can make using CCX include just picking which subsections of the course you want to teach, and then also setting your own schedule and grading policy. It doesn't allow you to add your own content or make major changes to the content. So that's not part of the use case. And this has been a feature of the platform for quite a while. We've been making some minor improvements to it lately. An often requested feature is the ability to have more than one of these courses per instructor. So that's something we're going to be working on this summer. If any of you are using CCX now, you'll probably be very excited about that. So in the long term, we're also working on another project called Blockstore. And Blockstore is going to be a new way to store learning content on the platform. For most of the history of Open edX, there are just courses, and all learnable content in the platform exists in a course. And courses have a very rigid structure of chapter, section, subsection, unit, and all content is slotted into that. But as we move into new feature requests like adaptive learning, and look at new learning contexts that aren't necessarily courses that you enroll in, but might be smaller, shorter mobile experiences, or longer programs that have content that's not necessarily part of an individual course. We are trying to develop a new way of storing learnable content on the Open edX platform. And we're calling that initiative Blockstore. We're hoping it will enable a lot more content reuse, so instructional designers can create content once, and then others can grab that content and use it with their blessing in other courses. And we expect that this will also power adaptive learning experiences and ultimately also replace the CCX feature that I was just telling you about with something even more powerful. If anyone is interested in learning more about Blockstore, we're doing a session on it tomorrow at the Developer Summit. So we'll be diving into the nitty-gritty about how this might be implemented. Another often requested feature is more learning analytics, more, better for smaller courses. So I'm going to talk about two things that OpenCraft is familiar with for analytics. One is the project we're doing for Australian National University right now, improving the problem response report in the instructor dashboard. This is already in progress, and part of it will be available in Hawthorne. So you'll be able to take advantage of that as soon as you upgrade. Basically, if you want to know what your students have written as an answer to specific problems in your course, one way of doing that is going into the instructor dashboard and downloading the problem response report. But historically, it looks like the first couple rows of that spreadsheet there, it just shows usernames and then a big blob of JSON formatted data, which is not really useful to most instructors out of the box. So we've been refactoring this report to make it more useful to instructors, adding in a lot more columns of data saying where in the course did this come from, who was the student that wrote this, and giving you a human readable version of the student answer instead of the big JSON blob. So part of this is already available on edX.org for any of you who run courses on edX.org today. Otherwise, you'll be able to take advantage of it in Hawthorne. We're also adding, we have a pull request in progress to allow you to preview the CSVs in browser. So instead of having to download a file and then open it in Excel, you can also just view the reports directly in the instructor dashboard. And then we've often heard requests in the community for better analytics for small courses, and we're tremendously excited by what Appsembler has been doing with their project called Figures.
We haven't tested it though.
Yeah, we haven't tested it out ourselves, but we just really want to encourage community projects like that. So at OpenCraft, we're looking for opportunities to test this out with our clients and to contribute to this project, which we're very excited to see. But basically, the idea is to provide analytics that works better for small courses and people who aren't running massive MOOCs that are more suited to insights. So Figures is a tool that that has as its goals to provide real-time updates, lightweight deployment, easy contributions for people who want to customize the reports. And so we're really excited to see that and to hopefully contribute to that soon. I think handing this over to Gabriel now.
Yeah, you're done? Okay, good. Thank you, Braden. I don't know if I should use that. Yeah. Right, great. So as you can see, we and the rest of the community are working on some interesting stuff. But still, the question remains, what does the community want? So as I told you at the beginning of the talk, I surveyed the Open edX community, so I talked to some of my colleagues, ex-colleagues. My friend Colin over there gave me like 3 pages of features he would like to see implemented. So what I did, I just copied and pasted that into my presentation. No, but yeah, so of course, at the end of this talk, I expect you to be leaving with more questions than answers, actually, which is unfortunate, but we can, you know, keep that discussion going. So I heard a lot about learning outcomes. So we never see those, right? And here's a story. When I used to work with professors before, and they were like, oh yeah, there's this new course I have to give, and this and that, and I have to start things, and here, this will be my content. I'm like, whoa, forget about content. What are your learning outcomes? You have to start with that, right? Like, you have to define that first, well, in my opinion. So I'd love to see those in Open edX a bit more. It's the starting point. You cannot mess around with that. Taxonomy. So, is your student remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, or creating stuff? You don't know. I would love to see more of that in the platform. So, I love Doom, obviously. Progress mechanics. So, of course, you have this basic progress page. And by the way, the edX guys will be thinking, he forgets that there's this and that coming out in Hawthorne and Ironwood, and that's great. I just can't remember it all. But yeah, progress mechanics, concepts of level up, mastery of concepts. I'd like to see more of that. Like this guy, he's now a computer science wizard or something. There were also suggestions around better grading scheme, better course navigation, of course. We also discussed other stuff like collaborative learning, pardon my French. So where learners support each other in their learning. Adaptive learning, which is a hot topic. It's been for quite a few years now, and we're working on tools towards achieving that. So this is about giving learners a custom learning experience based on their strengths and weaknesses. Better discussion forums, of course. We should inspire ourselves from websites like Reddit, for example, where you see avatars, you see the level of seniority of users, the level of contribution, how many posts they have made, and so on and so forth. So is this guy a noob? Or is this guy like a regular contributor? Is he like a Jedi Master in this forum? I don't know. This helps. We'd like to see improved feedback, of course. I know the platform was originally designed for MOOCs, but, and I mean, when you have like 15,000 users, you cannot provide individual feedback to everyone. I know that, but this is still a crucial issue for the engagement of learners. So these are all topics that have been discussed with the community. So we've come to this part of the talk where I'd like you to discuss with me, and like in between, what improvements would you like to see in the platform? So obviously we have, I don't know, how much time left? Like 15 minutes. And by the way, if we finish before 5, it's no big deal. We all want to go and grab a beer after, so it's fine. But I wanted to keep some nice time so we could chat this over. I know some of you have suggestions. I know some of you have ideas of improvements that we could do. So let's do this.
For the people who are watching on the video, either ask Gabriel to repeat your comment or just wave at me and I'll run the mic over, and that way we'll make sure that they're able to hear you as well.
So the platform, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. And by all means, if someone in this room feels like he can better answer than me, that's fine. Do it.
Yeah, because I don't know all about Open edX, but if I, in an educational point of view, some of people, if I'm the advocate, the devil's advocate, I would say that educational people would say Open edX is the Walmart of online education. Yeah, why?
That's a
because
big statement.
We need more like retroaction feedback. We're talking about retroaction. For example, Open edX offer a platform to have massive online courses, which is great. Give access to a lot of people to education. But it's a kind of canned education. We have video, text, not that much interaction, and as well the assessment of the education. It's cannot, as you said, we cannot engage that much the student, the learner, because we cannot give him enough feedback. I know it's an issue, it's difficult, but that's something that we should
improve.
Open edX should work on more, I think. As well, in an instructional design point of view, I think about authoring tools. Authoring tools, I think should be maybe there. It's interesting to see what you were showing earlier about your CCX tool. There's more that can be done to make more customized, to customize more the content, to offer different scenario to the scenario for the courses, and as well that would mean that at the end we're going to have more adaptative of the learning. So I will start with that.
So was that a comment or a question?
It was more, I think, a comment.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
But maybe I know that there's a lot of things that are a lot of initiative exists.
Yeah.
So.
And we get tons of requests from clients and prospects mentioning that, you know, feedback and broader assessment types, other types of exercises, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's been mentioned at every conference for the past years, like the past 3-4 years. And I believe implementing all these tools is a challenge because there are other stakes than strictly, you know, instructional design when you're managing a product. But I'm hoping that some of these suggestions that we make can be slowly but surely implemented. And I strongly believe that the folks at Open edX know about that, and they're working towards better tools for assessment and feedback. Yeah. Thank you for that. Anyone wants to respond to that, or questions or comments? So I gather that beside this, everything's perfect? No? Okay. So this is one of our colleagues from AppSembler.
Yeah, so I think it's very much along the same lines of providing tools, and is yet again another just standing up in a soapbox and giving comments more than asking any sort of question. But to my mind, a large part of being able to provide a good learning experience is having the correct authoring tools to create that kind of experience.
Yeah.
And so much, a lot of the time, our focus is on, hey, here's this new shiny thing that we can implement. Like, here's a new type of assessment.
Yeah.
Here's a brand new type of X block to do this, a brand new type of X block to do that. When there's actually a lot of opportunity for improvement of the tools that we have. And it's kind of easy to lose sight of those. Like, for example, things like the visual editor in Studio. If you look at that as a tool, like, I think we've got a version of TinyMCE that's decades old at this point. Probably a bit of an over-exaggeration. But there are a lot of very basic tools that we're missing. And I kind of want to give a shout out because the last release on the blog that I saw was for, I think, the first time since I started using OpenEdX, kind of back in 2014, I think it was. There's been an actual change to the visual editor where we can align text. Just the concept of how long it took for that button to arrive, because we're all so busy looking at new shiny things rather than what we can improve of what we have. And I think it's important not to lose sight of that, like what very basic things are we missing right now that we can add.
So it's consolidating.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a nice approach too. Very interesting. Jean? So I'm very anxious about what he's going to say. This is my former boss, so I like him very much.
No, I like your comment because an announcement tool that would make any sense. We're talking to tens of thousands of people, and the announcement tool is just awful. And I would love to be able to talk and to announce different things to people, and we can't now. I have to go back to HTML, and it's a pain in the neck anyway. So that's you're right. There's a lot of tools that need to be worked on, and that is one. Anybody from edX here? Please do it.
Oh,
please do it.
Right next to you.
And it's pretty simple to do. The other comment, it's more a comment. Do we want to turn OpenEdX into another LMS? It's pretty good at delivering MOOCs and to talking to large. And what I hear is basically, let's all do the tools that our normal LMS are doing. I'm not sure.
Like Moodle and Canvas and.
Yeah, so these tools are very good at teaching small classes to lots of different courses. And we chose basically OpenEdX because it was good at delivering MOOCs. So I don't want to turn it into a large software that does everything. Maybe integration with other tools would be nice, but like authoring tools, there's a million out there. I don't want edX to work on these. But you see the point. So we have to be careful in what we ask because it's going to turn into a really big LMS at the end.
Nice point. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Comments or questions? Yeah. Oh yes, the open response assessment tool. Yeah, that's one of my wishes too. I love that tool. I mean, you can do a lot with it right now, but we also get requests to improve that tool too. That might actually happen in the future. Nothing I can say for sure, but yeah, that could happen. So is everybody familiar with the Aura tool, the open response assessment tool? Yeah. So this allows you to provide an essay type response to a question, and you can do self-evaluation, and your peers can then evaluate your response using an assessment grid and everything, a rubric. So yeah, it's a very nice tool too. It's a bit hefty to put in place, but once it's done, it works really well.
No, it's just a comment of something that it's just ironic.
Ironic, I like that.
That we have this platform in order to give like skills to everyone, free or very cheap, right? Yeah. To massive give skills to everyone, but still there is not enough people with the skills to develop the platform. So it is kind of ironic. It's just a comment.
So when you're saying there's not enough people to implement the platform, you mean the providers, the OpenEdX providers, or?
Yeah, I feel that, for example, in my country.
Yeah, you're from Colombia.
Yeah,
right?
I'm from Colombia.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I don't know other countries, but for my country, for example, if you wanna find somebody who can. Who knows like the skills that you really need in order to set up a platform, you won't find it. You don't find them. Like
I understand.
You have to like yeah, it's.
But most providers can operate like remotely. Is that an obstacle for you? The fact that someone can like deploy it from anywhere else.
No, what I mean is that there are too many people that is getting their degrees on engineering and stuff, and that they are not like suitable with what the market needs. And still you have this edX platform that allows people to have some of those skills.
Yeah.
But there are but you are lacking like the skills that are really needed, not only for the open edX but for the market as a whole. I'm talking about the cloud computing. I'm talking about some of the technology that is used there. So it is just ironic, right?
So you have any solutions to that problem in mind?
I feel that I really feel that open edX is there for us, but it's not there for a lot of other people. Like I feel that like the marketing of edX, like what the people can learn from all the countries with their own language. I think we need to improve that. I know a lot of people, a lot of students that they don't know anything about edX. A lot of I don't know, a huge percentage of the young students don't know about edX, and they must, right?
We'll get there someday.
So yeah, I think it's just, I don't know what is the solution, but I think we are lacking of these kinds of skills to develop the open edX platform.
Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. In the back over there. Braden, thank you, by the way, for doing this.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have a feedback on the discussion forum. So that's been a pain point always, because there are people who create multiple posts for the same thread that is out there. And another point is that when staff respond to a query, if there are 20 other people who have responded before that, the staff response goes all the way down. So I have faculty who come back and say that, look, I have responded to this person, but I don't think they can ever see it because there are so many threads which have gone. So some way where, when a staff responds to a specific query, if it comes on the top, I think that is a feature that would really help to use discussion forum more effectively.
And it sounds like this could be like a very basic thing to do, right?
Yes.
I cannot tell you about that. I don't know if anyone here or my colleagues know about what's going on with the forums thing, but yes, Colin.
So it definitely strikes a chord with me what you just said, because those are on the list that MIT and Harvard have been putting together of, here are all the things we would like to see in the discussion forum, especially better moderation tools and things like that. And I know that there's been some progress, and we've actually we've provided the list to edX. We've had some meetings about it. It hasn't gone anywhere yet.
Thank you for that, Colin. So in terms of time, that would be all of it. But of course, I'd like to pursue that discussion with you guys. So there are several means of doing that. We have this discussion forum called edX Change that you could log into and continue that discussion. We also can discuss it on the educator team, on the Open edX Slack team. And of course, you can always email me with your questions and comments. I'll be very happy to answer them. So thank you very much for this, and this was a great conference once again.